We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you is Wednesday, February 11th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Moonju.
Good morning.
Good morning. Also, Brooke is with us.
Hello, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, and both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As we enter the middle of the work week, let's take a moment to talk about something many of us turn to when we need a pick-me-up, which is none other than tea. For those who can't drink coffee, myself included, tea is often the go-to option, especially when decaffeinated choices aren't available. These days, tea is pretty much everywhere. It's on cafe menus, restaurant menus, you name it. So, Moonju, let me ask you, how often do you think you drink tea?
Actually, last year, the matcha craze absolutely swept through the Gen Z and millennials demographics, and I count myself among those enthusiasts with a particular penchant for matcha lattes and ice cream, which I had it yesterday.
Oh, a true fan.
Yeah. However, I also gravitate toward the herbal teas like chamomile whenever I feel guilty about drinking too much caffeine and too much coffees, because I often drink more than like 2 cups of coffee a day. So like when I feel guilty, I go to herbal teas.
Balance it out a bit.
That's good. Yeah.
What about you, Brooke?
Well, I wore this sweater today because I wanted the cozy tea vibes, but I'm not much of a tea drinker myself. When I go to cafes, I don't order tea and I don't order coffee. I like to order what I call a dessert in a cup, like a frappuccino or a Korean flavored specialty drink. Like I love injeolmi lattes or dalgona lattes. But there is a time when I do tend to drink tea, and that's when I have to sing. So when I was performing in a musical, I drank lemon, ginger, honey, tea almost all the time because it's actually a wonderful drink for singers. It really soothes your throat. It reduces vocal cord inflammation. It cuts through mucus, so you have a more resonant sound. And also, it helps promote faster recovery from vocal strain, which when you're performing, 6 hours a day, your voice can get very, very tired. So tea is one of those really good drinks for that. It has a lot of health benefits. So I think I'm one of those drinkers that turns to it for, the health aspect. But that actually falls in line with a lot of young people who are looking to tea for the wellness aspect of the drink.
Well, I'll be writing that down, lemon and ginger tea.
Best thing.
So that's a great example of how tea often starts as something practical like caring for your voice, but then becomes part of a wider wellness routine. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. It used to be coffee that people turned to when meeting friends or coworkers for a drink. But now tea, once seen as something more closely associated with the older generation, is gaining just as much popularity. Along with it, tea gatherings are also on the rise. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at what happens at these tea gatherings, Korea's unique tea culture, and how it compares to tea traditions in the West. As we just saw in the video, tea is no longer just a quiet traditional drink. It's becoming a lifestyle choice, especially among the younger generations. So how has this impacted the tea sales, and how are young people driving the recent boom in tea culture, Moonju?
Yeah, these days South Korea's tea market has been in a steady upward trajectory. If you take a look at our screen here, the market size expanded from approximately 1.09 trillion Korean won in 2020 to 1.34 trillion won in 2022, finally reaching approximately 1.58 trillion won in 2024. The driving force behind the surge is undoubtedly the MZ generation. This trend has been significantly amplified by global icons who resonate deeply with the 20s demographic. Superstars like Blackpink's Jennie, Dua Lipa, and Zendaya have shared themselves drinking teas on social media, acting as a major catalyst for this lifestyle shift. According to data from Starbucks Korea, tea beverage purchases among customers in their 20s jumped by 20% year over year. Considering that overall growth rate for the tea category was just 8%, the response from consumers in their 20s is effectively 2.5 times more intense than the market average.
I think seeing celebrities do something actually really helps with sales as well, so I can see why. And these numbers really show how strong that shift is, especially among people in their 20s, which makes me wonder, why is tea suddenly so popular among young people especially?
Well, we hear this a lot. I think young people these days are really focused on self-care and health. And so they value drinks like tea over alcohol, carbonated drinks, or really highly caffeinated beverages. And that shift towards healthier beverages is clear in the market overall, as we just heard. And we're seeing tea drinks are diversifying in flavor and form in order to match this trend. But the other thing that resonates with young people is the fact that they love an experience. And these days, as you're seeing on the screen, it's not just a drink, it really is a full-fledged, aesthetic, beautiful cultural experience that you can have, and people are flocking to it. According to a community report, newly started tea tasting meetups last December increased about 250% year on year, and this just shows how active tea culture is becoming amongst young adults. And additionally, people are starting to trade tea utensils and tea leaves so that they can have these Asian-style tea ceremonies. They're very social media worthy, right? They're very gorgeous to look at. So people are purchasing more of those utensils and sets and kind of just participating more in this as a cultural activity and a lifestyle experience rather than just a drink.
Right, and it makes sense, especially because there is a huge focus on wellness. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I also like to drink tea because I can't usually drink coffee. So then that makes me wonder, so what do people actually do at these tea gatherings?
All right, so previously, these MZ generations often forged social bonds or alcohol, I think, and the MZ generation has now shifted its networking hub to the cafe, and here we have it. Tea gatherings, tahui, are a perfect extension of this cultural pivot. In these sessions, a host demonstrates tare, which is a traditional tea etiquette, and serves the guests personally. So unlike the standard cafe experience where you receive a single large beverage at once, these gatherings offer a curated tasting journey. 3 or 4 different varieties of tea are brewed in succession from a small teapot and served in petite cups, reminiscent of soju glasses, offering just a sip at a time. To amplify the experience, the tea is often paired with traditional refreshments such as hangwa, dried fruits, and rice cakes.
Looking at the footage really makes me want to experience this myself. So it almost sounds and looks like a casual drink, less like a casual drink, more like a shared ritual or experience. So then what's the atmosphere like at these tea gatherings?
Well, as you could tell from all the lovely footage we're seeing, it's a very sophisticated atmosphere. It's kind of like a wine tasting. You're not there
That's a good comparison.
to, gulp it down. You're there to really savor it, smell the aroma, and connect with each other. And so it's a rather quiet atmosphere. It's not this bustling, loud, overstimulating space, and it's very small. The groups are usually 6 people or fewer, so the focus is really on, sharing that drink, bonding, and having these quiet, connected conversations. And this fits the young people's preferences these days for calmer environments. I mean, our world is quite chaotic, so it makes sense why we're being drawn towards things like tea ceremonies. And in fact, these tea gatherings in busy districts have become so popular that they're hard to book. We talk a lot in Korea about how hard it is to get tickets for K-pop concerts, or in my case, League of Legends games. It's very difficult. But apparently, this trend has even spawned the phrase tea-ketting, because getting tickets for a spot at these tea events is actually quite difficult. So if you do want to experience this, make sure you get in there quickly, because there has definitely been a shift. Tea culture now is all the rage. It's a very active part of people's social lives. People are asking their friends, hey, do you want to go to this tea gathering with me? Like you would ask someone, do you want to go to a movie? It's now a part of young people's lives.
And I can attest to tea ticketing being a real thing, because they also have these tea gatherings or these tea experiences at traditional palaces actually in Korea.
Oh, okay.
And I've tried for 3 years, failed each time, so I can attest to
Wow.
this. So all of this really captures why tea gatherings feel so appealing right now. It's quiet, it's intentional, and almost the opposite of loud, crowded social scenes. So it's fascinating how tea has become a new way for young people to connect. And to gain a more broader perspective, we're actually going to talk to someone who hosts tea gatherings here in Korea. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out Channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Chaeyeon-ji, a tea blending expert who organizes various tea-related events and gatherings. Hello, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So Hyunji, what first drew you to tea and what made you decide to continue your tea journey?
What first drew me to tea was actually a very personal struggle. About 6 years ago, I was going through a tough time and I couldn't have any caffeine. A friend gave me a caffeine-free tea sampler, and I was immediately fascinated by how different ingredients created such unique flavors and stories. What made me continue this journey was the incredible creativity I found in the Korean tea scene. At the time, tea courses were becoming popular in Korea, offering very unique drinks. For instance, imagine a garlic milk tea inspired by the Korean foundation myth, or a perilla leaf tea aid. It was so unexpected and exciting. This endless diversity is what kept me hooked and why I still enjoy a cup of tea every single day.
Yeah, I see. As a tea gatherings host yourself, what are they like, and what can people expect there?
As a host, I focus on the story within the tea. For example, if we're tasting Korean black tea, like this,
Ooh.
I don't just talk about dry theories. Instead, I share the story behind its development, why it was created, and what makes its production unique compared to other teas. What's even more exciting is that people can experience my own creative reinterpretations. I often serve tea blends or new tea-based drinks that I've developed, so guests can discover how a single tea can transform into something entirely new. You can expect to learn and taste these stories step by step. But the most special part is the connection. Even though many guests come alone and are from different age groups, they often leave as tea friends, or what we call tao in Korean. By the end of the session, they're exchanging Instagram handles and making new friends. I think this is why my gatherings are popular. In adulthood, it's not always easy to make new friends, but tea acts as a perfect medium to open up and share our tastes honestly. In fact, many tea brands today position tea as a bridge between people, and that's exactly what happens at my table.
Oh, that's really beautiful. And thank you so much for bringing the products to show us and the pictures. I can really feel your expertise and your love for tea. So my last question for you is, for beginners, what are the benefits of tea and which tea do you recommend? I know it might be hard to pick just one.
People often focus on the health benefits of tea, but for me, the biggest advantage is the expansion of one's interests. There are so many varieties of tea out there. I started with simple herbal infusions, but now I'm at the point where I direct order teas from tea gardens all over the world, like this. My interest has also expanded into teaware, like this.
It's beautiful.
And even pairing tea with food or alcohol to find the best flavors. Since last year, I've even been brewing my own kombucha, like this, and studying aromatic compounds. That one tea sampler a friend gave me has enriched my life so much. Thanks to tea, my life is becoming more and more colorful. For beginners, I highly recommend Korean sukcha, mugwort tea, My absolute favorite is the mugwort tea from Hadong. It has a rich body with a sweet flavor, almost like white chocolate. And because it's caffeine-free, anyone can enjoy it. As you know, matcha is incredibly popular worldwide right now. In Korea, we also process mugwort into a fine powder, just like matcha. It has the lovely bittersweet taste, but without the caffeine, making it a perfect alternative. You should definitely try it.
Well, I definitely do want to. Seeing you show all these different types of tea has made me really excited, and I know what I'm going to do after the show. I'm probably going to look for a tea gathering to sign up for. All right, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you. That was amazing.
Right. So we've just heard from a tea gathering host about what drew her to tea, what these gatherings are like, and which teas she recommends for beginners. So now let's zoom out and take a closer look at tea culture itself. So let's start with Korea. So Moonji, what makes Korea's tea culture so unique compared to other places?
Yeah, to begin with, the origins of the tea can be traced back to China, where it has been consumed since approximately 2700 BC. It was introduced to the Korean peninsula roughly 1500 years ago. Regions like Jeju Island, Hadong, and Posong are renowned as the country's premier tea growing areas. And historically, Korean production has been predominantly focused on green tea. Unlike the mass market approach seen elsewhere, Korean tea has traditionally been the domain of artisans producing high quality leaves for a small scale distribution. And I think this is a very unique part of Korean tea market. These days, it was the beverage of choice for Buddhist monks in meditation and Confucian scholars who use tea to cultivate mindfulness and mental clarity. In recent years, increased global exchange has broadened the palette. We are seeing a rise in fusion blends like green tea infused with jasmine alongside popular herbal varieties such as peppermint and rosemary. And compared to its Asian neighbors, Korean tea culture is notably less formal and more modest, and it emphasizes simple daily enjoyment rather than a rigid ceremony.
We see all these footage, and after we had our conversation with our Zoom guests, and hearing you walk us through kind of the history of it, there's so much to actually learn from about tea history as well. And so obviously tea isn't just happening, it's not a culture that's just seen in Asia, and that makes me curious about what it's like in the West as well. So you obviously live extensively both in Korea and the US, so what's tea culture like in the West?
So the Western tea culture first developed in the United Kingdom, where black tea introduced from China in the 17th century spread from the upper classes to the public, and it evolved into the rituals that we see today, like afternoon tea, milk tea, and formal tea sets. You know, a cuppa is something that a lot of British people have every single day. It's extremely important to their daily lives. But I would say in the United States, it's quite different. Tea followed a different path in my country, and that's namely because of the Tea Act and the Boston Tea Party. It almost became unpatriotic to enjoy tea back then. So coffee became the dominant drink in America, and tea doesn't quite have the same ceremonial flair as it does in Asian countries. Instead, Americans tend to prefer iced tea if they drink tea. That's my mom's favorite drink at any restaurant. But a British person would probably look at that and think that is sacrilegious, that tea is meant to be hot and enjoyed and savored, the aroma, the flavor, and iced tea is kind of just watering it down is what they would probably say. But everyone likes their tea in a different way. And I think we're going to see tea become more popular in the United States as this whole, wellness culture continues, and interest in global tea traditions has also grown.
I mean, it is quite interesting how tea in the West developed more as a social ritual with an emphasis on presentation. And so with these different traditions in mind, let's now look ahead. So do you think tea's popularity is just a passing trend, or do you think it's here to stay, Minju?
Oh, I think it's gonna stay a while. This appears to be evolving. That this tea culture has been evolving from a passing fad into a permanent lifestyle fixture for the MZ generation. For this demographic that places a high premium on mindfulness and mental well-being, tea culture offers more than just a drink. It provides a peaceful sanctuary and a grounding hobby in their daily life, so I think it will stay a while.
The idea of tea that you mentioned as a form of mindfulness really probably resonates with the younger generations today. So from your perspective, Brooke, is there another reason why tea may have a lasting appeal, especially for the younger generation?
Well, like I said earlier, young people are all about self-care, and aside from water, I think tea is probably the healthiest thing that you can drink. It doesn't have a lot of sugar, not a lot of caffeine, and it has health benefits that we've mentioned today as well. So I think people choose it for health reasons a lot of the time, and it also fits very naturally into that slower, more mindful lifestyle, and people can enjoy it alone at home or as a part of a social experience. So because it's something that supports both your physical and your mental health, I think that it's less like a trend and more like something that you can integrate into your lifestyle in the long term.
Right. So from quiet tea gatherings to everyday cups at home, tea in Korea is becoming more than just a drink. It offers a way to slow down, connect, and bring balance into busy lives. And as younger generations continue to shape how tea is enjoyed, the culture is evolving beyond tradition. And looking ahead, tea may become an even more familiar part of everyday life, one mindful cup at a time. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Moonju.
Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming in. Also, Brooke.
Had a lovely time as always.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you make the time to unwind with your favorite cup of tea today. We are News Generation.